Okay, in today's podcast, we are going to be breaking one of the most difficult habits that you might have right now in your love life, and that is breaking the bad boy habit. Gary, I think we're going to have a little bit of tough love today on this one.
It is going to be tough. This is something that so many of our clients bring to us. They'll start describing a guy and be like, he's thrilling, but he's distant, emotionally, he's like mysterious, and it's like he's so hot. And I'm like, no, he's toxic. It's not good.
No. I mean, that's the thing is like the bad boy type, they're super fun until they're not. Like, it's just one of those situations. It can be great for the first couple of weeks. It's great sex. It's great, it might be emotional connection. He might sit in bed, look you in the eyes and tell you how perfect you are. But we all know where that leads us. And if you're sick of the heartbreak, the mixed signals, the wasted time, it really is time to ask yourself, like, why do you keep falling for the same trap? So in today's podcast, we're going to break that habit. We can't help you quit smoking. We can't help you quit drinking. We can't help you quit anything, but we can help you quit the bad boy habit.
Yeah, and it's like, what I say to clients a lot is, when are you going to just get tired of being tired with dealing with this kind of guy? Because so much of what keeps people in this habit, and we're going to get a little bit into this, but in a general term, it's the hope of something that's there that's not there, right? Like you're seeing a mirage and it's wishful thinking, and you're hoping you see this piece of him that's just not actually there. Because at the end of the day, edgy and it's intriguing, it's interesting, but is it good in the long term? And it's like, do you want these qualities over the long haul? And the answer is probably not.
And look, I want to give everyone a little bit of grace through this, because I think it is a requirement in life to learn these lessons through experience. Like, I'm sure, you have a daughter, right? It's one thing to teach someone something like, hey, watch out for these types of guys. It's another to experience it and then be like, okay, I'm never going to do that again. But we're speaking to those today who I think struggle to learn the lesson. And it's really just a matter of, first off, giving yourself some grace. A lot of people fall into this habit and they get sucked in time and time again. But also to recognize that this is a habit and this is a pattern. And that this is breakable. Mm-hmm. This is actually breakable.
And that's what makes our mission, what we do on this podcast, what we do at Love Strategy so meaningful, is that we see on a regular basis people have fallen into different habits, different patterns, then have the realization of like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing. Oh, wow, I never fully realized this. And once you get that kind of glimmer of hope, that aha moment, now all of a sudden it becomes fixable. And so that's what we get to do on today's podcast, is kind of take you through that whole entire process all in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, I love it. So, Gary, let's talk about the bad boy here.
Yeah.
All right. Do you think that, is there any psychology that comes into play? Like, do women really prefer the bad boy over the nice guy? Like, is there anything to back this up?
What's great about this question is, I feel so often, I've been doing relationship science for a long time, several decades at this point. And it's very rare, I think, that relationship science actually answers the cool questions. But this is one of those times where it's like, this is a cool question, and there's actually research directly on, do women really prefer the bad boy? And the answer is, yeah, chicks dig the bad boy. Women are more attracted to guys who look proud and brooding. Right. So they give women a bunch of pictures and you look, you kind of, what's the expression on the guy's face? Proud, smug, brooding. They're more attracted to that guy than happy, smiling guys. Like, happy, smiling guy, not as attractive. Here's one of those times that guys get it right, though. Men, on the other hand, do prefer women who are just plain happy. And so women want that brooding, deep in thought, mysterious kind of bad boy look instead of the smiling guy. And men actually want a smiling woman.
That's so true. Men, I've coached so many men, and when a man walks into a room and is single and looking to approach a woman, he's looking for the woman who is least likely to reject him horrifically. So it's unlikely that he's going to go for the quote unquote bad girl, because the bad girl is going to be pretty mean to him. It's not going to go well. You know, the woman with like the leather jacket who's like too cool for school and is just like not digging any of it. Like, yeah, that can be kind of sexy. But at the same token, there's the woman next to her who's just smiling and happy-go-lucky and is having a great time. It's like, no, I'm going with that 100% every time.
Yeah, not the woman with the resting back off face who's just like going to look at you and be like, ew, gross.
Yeah, like, she's like smoking her cigarette. I don't know. Do people still do that at the bar with like her red lipstick and is like drinking her Bud Light and just like, whatever, get away from me, dude. Yeah.
So I think
for some reason that's attractive to women, obviously minus the cigarette and minus the Bud Light and all that stuff. But like there is something to that, which is interesting. So what makes like a guy a bad boy, would you say, in your opinion?
Yeah, and I think this is important to really define what a bad boy is, because I'm sure some of you are listening to this right now and be like, I don't go for bad boys. Like, that's not my thing at all, because we kind of know that sounds bad. And then some of you are like, yep, that's me, you got me. But others are like, not so sure. So here are some things that you might be going more for the bad boy than you think. And so I think the biggest one that's a little bit ambiguous and hard to pinpoint is bad boys are mysterious and intriguing. Like, they're unpredictable, they're inconsistent. One day he's all over you, the next he's kind of distant. He does this hot, cold, mixed signal thing that keeps you hooked. Like, we know that that's a quote-unquote bad boy because that's not good relationship behavior. Like, that really shouldn't be appealing. But there's something about it that is. The other thing that guys do, I think, is acting alpha. Right? And it's like, this is like a new bro thing to be, is like, you know, I'm going to be this tough alpha guy. But really what it translates into in a relationship is he's just putting himself first. He's acting more confident than he actually is. He needs his time. He needs his needs met. He can make you feel like you're being a little too needy or a little like, oh my gosh, you're being a little too much right now. That's another one of those alpha traits.
Definitely. I mean, and I would say another one that I have some experience from going back into my 20s is kind of being the playboy type, you know, and I say that honestly, I wish I could go back in time and slap myself across the face and that 24-year-old kid who thought he was really cool, but he wasn't. But, you know, I kind of went down this path of, you know, going for the attention, going for the validation. And it was all about me at the time, in my early 20s. And luckily, I've learned those lessons, and now I'm happily married for a very long time, and it's fantastic. But these guys tend to play the field. Like, you're a bad boy because you have a lot of options and you are exploring those options, which makes you more mysterious and intriguing at the same time because you're not overly investing in relationships. You can feel more confident and be more alpha because you're getting all this validation from women. And throughout all of this, because you're a little bit of a playboy, you're also really good on dates. Like, you know what you're doing. It ain't your first date in 20 years. Like, he knows the first couple of sentences he's going to say on that date. He knows the questions to ask to make your heart flutter. Like, he knows how to just get under the hood and be able to connect with you and be able to look you in the eyes and tell you how special you are, right? But the reality is there's no substance there because he's doing it with lots of other women. And it causes him to play games, causes him to love bomb, causes him to breadcrumb, causes him to try and create jealousy at times to elicit an emotional response from you. And all of this leads you to feel like you have to prove yourself and your love to be able to earn his attention. So no bueno. Bad boys, no go. No go.
Well, and you know, in psychology, we'd call all of these behaviors to some extent, it's all variable reinforcement. It's like sometimes you're getting some good stuff. It's not there. You can't. The trick of bad boys, and I really think it's a magic trick, they're not bad 100% of the time. No, like there's little bits, little breadcrumbs, little bits of goodness in there that's like, ooh, there it is. And you want to really like work hard for those little things. And it causes you to try to convince yourself to overlook all the rest. And that's where you get yourself into trouble.
Well, that's a really important point that I think is worth mentioning, is that just because he's a bad boy doesn't mean he's a bad person necessarily. Right. And that might be controversial, but there are many, many guys that I know in my life that I've worked with who have gone through the bad boy phase because they are not ready for a relationship. But they are good guys. They might just be in a phase where They're misaligned. They're kind of going down the wrong path. We've all gone through phases in our life where we're not proud of those moments, myself included. I'm sure Gary, although you're pretty perfect, included. But like everyone's gone through that phase. And so what does that mean? It means that there's these like shimmers of light in this person. And you're like, oh, I know deep down he's a good guy. Like I feel like he's a good guy. Well, you have to remind yourself that he's going through a bad boy phase, which is not good. And you're not going to be the one to get him out of it.
Right.
You're not. That's a big one coming out of this.
Well, and I think, what's really interesting about what you just said is a lot of times he has no idea why he's acting like this. Like, I think so many guys, I don't know about your friends, but like all my guy friends, there's not a lot of deep awareness, right? There's a lot of just like reactivity. And it's like, he's kind of doing a lot of these, what quote unquote bad boy, but it's not because that's authentically who it just feels right at the moment and it kind of works. And so you just kind of keep drifting along and just bumbling your way through a lot of this. And I think that's important to realize is it's not for most men purposeful, scheming, intentional. It's just kind of dumb luck, accidental, and it's a phase.
Right. Absolutely. So I think you have a little bit more research to come along. You were telling me before the pod. You were going to talk about, I think, the bad boys actually being bad for you, how much of a problem it is.
So the reality, right? So I think I've heard this from clients, which is why I wanted to put this in the podcast, is kind of what's the harm? Like, this is just a phase for me too. Like, this is just what I want to do right now. And this is how I want to be. And to which I always just kind of respond with a physics lesson, which is like inertia is real. And so you can kind of be like doing something for a phase and then it becomes your reality. And so what seems like a starter partner maybe isn't that much of a starter partner. It's more of I thought it was going to be a starter partner and a short-term thing that accidentally becomes a long-term thing. And so the real danger in that is we have research on, again, we did some other cool research in relationship science on bad boys. And so this study was actually called one of the coolest relationship science titles ever, The Dangers of Dating a Bad Boy. Like, we never call things this cool, like this clear. But what actually they found was people spontaneously incorporate. Now that sounds academic, right? So basically you take on traits of your bad boy partner. So when you're with somebody, you become very much like them. And so if your partner is inconsistent, maybe lacking empathy, not caring about other people, you start to take on some of those traits. This is what my colleagues and friends, we wrote a paper about all the different ways that relationships impact the self. This is a term we actually coined ourselves called self-adulteration, where like you take on bad qualities from your partner and it actually lowers your sense of self. It makes you a worse partner by taking on your bad boy partner's bad traits.
It just shows the power of being intentional in your love life and how it's so dangerous to put this off. Like, we have a lot of clients and people who reach out to us or apply to work with us, and they'll get on a call with someone on my team and talk through their challenges, and at the end of it be like, I'm just kind of dating this guy. I'm having a good time. We'll just see kind of where this goes, and I'll come back to you when I feel ready for a relationship. And our response is always like, no! Like, whatever you do, if you work with us or not, I get it. That's your own prerogative. But whatever you do, do not just go up with the casual chill and be like, let's just kind of see where this whole thing goes. Because that road is a paved, perfect road to hell, to like love hell. The devil is there in your life where it's just like, yeah, I'm kind of busy with work. I got other stuff going on. This guy's great. He doesn't call me, every 2 weeks, or we don't really talk that much. He's not very nice to me, but it's great. It's great sex and it's good stuff. And it's like, man, that is going to rub off on you. And then you're going to show up that way in future relationships with future partners, not knowing that you're going to do that. Like, it's going to be subconscious. Mm-hmm. In many ways. It's very, very dangerous. So if there's a lesson here, it is to, even if you're pressing pause on your dating life, stay intentional. Like, pressing pause means you're actually going to pause on dating and you're not going to be exploring dates. if you're pressing play and you're actually dating, do it with intentionality. Don't do the kind of like dating-ish, like, I'm just going to kind of see what happens out there. That's the danger zone, because you can fall into this trap.
Yeah, and it's very dangerous because it's the exact opposite of what we teach, I think, which is empowerment and taking responsibility, right? You're just kind of leaving yourself vulnerable to the whims of the world and the whims of these guys and what they want, and you're just kind of like following along with a lack of direction. And like, I get it. I get that there's a certain appeal to that short term, but that's not appealing long term, where you're basically at the mercy of a guy's whims and how he's going to act. Because what you realize with these bad boy types is the confidence that you're so attracted to, it's an illusion. They're faking confident because people who are actually confident don't need to act that way. We did a whole entire podcast on the emotionally broken man. Illuminating, right? A super great one to check out if you're not fully, buying this. But it's like that confidence that he's showing you, it's fake, right? All that substance and all that bravado, it's empty. And really what these guys are allowing you to do is fill in the blanks with everything you hope he is, that he's never going to be. And you're just creating this relationship in your mind instead of in reality. And that's, like Adam just said, it's a dangerous state to be in, because you get stuck, because it starts to become, again, this inertia thing where you just, objects in rest, stay in rest. And like you're in this really, so, it's so much harder to get out of this. I might as well just stay and see where it goes. What's another month? Oh, I've been in this 3 years. I don't want to waste 3 years. It's like, well, I'm now going to waste 5 years. It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap because it is so alluring. It's like junk food. I think of it a lot like junk food, because if I am not intentional about my diet, oh my God, soon enough I will be eating cookies every night and Sour Patch Kids. I love Sour Patch Kids so much. Like, I will just slowly but surely get drawn down this into this path and attracted to this. I think the same thing goes with unhealthy partners, because this is incredibly attractive. Like, these types of guys, there's the thrill of the chase. Like, you're the one to get him. You get to tame him. You get to change him. You get to help him. You want what you can't have. I mean, that's a cornerstone of human nature, is just always desiring what it is you can't have. And it's so alluring, it can just drag you down.
There's this really interesting piece of research that I just learned about like last week. And it's this idea of who hooks up with who. And this is like evolutionary psychology stuff. And so what this shows is guys will hook up, basically pursue short-term flings with women who are less attractive, that they would never consider dating long-term. And so this is really important in the context of a bad boy, because I think, honestly, so much of the quote-unquote bad boy appeal is he's hot. Right? Like, if he wasn't hot, no one's going after an ugly bad boy. Like, that's just not happening. And so there's a hotness that you're in pursuit of that seems like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can get this guy. Well, the thing is, him hooking up with you, what this research is saying is him hooking up with you isn't the sign that you think it is. It isn't him saying, I'm interested in you long term. It might just be that I'm interested in you right now. And so that hotness and that, striving for that in many ways is going to be counterproductive, because, he might only be looking short term, which I'm sure is not something that comes as news. But it is something you really want to keep in mind, because one of the things that makes these bad boys attractive is everyone's looking for their love story, right? And I think there's something that we romanticize about the struggle. Like, he was rude, he was a little brusque, like he had this like quietness to him, and I was able to help him work through this, and it was this huge obstacle that we overcame together. We kind of hated each other at first, and it was terrible, but then there was that moment where we both wore flannel and made hot chocolate, and it was magical, and everything was fine.
Is that like your perfect love story, Gary?
I was just thinking of like Hallmark movies, like the Christmas Hallmark movies that Colleen watches all the time. It's like every time I walk through the living room and she's watching, I'm like, oh, flannel. All right, there we go.
Totally. That's so good. I picture you as a flannel guy on the weekend.
I rocked flannels in the 90s, hardcore.
Yeah. But I think they're also really attractive because they can catch you at a time in your life where you're not maybe your best self, right? Bad boys have a way of sneaking in when you just went through a breakup, when you might be having some trouble at work, when you might be going through some mental health issues. They kind of find their way in because if they're truly a playboy and they're just playing the field, they are in many ways going for the easiest objects to slay. And I hate to say that, but it's very true of many men out there. And I do feel like, Gary, I think we say this a lot to our clients, like at least I do. Like I feel like I'm your big brother watching out for you every step of the way, even though many of our clients are in their 70s and 80s, so the math doesn't math there. But it is true in the sense of I know these guys and they come in when you're at your most vulnerable moment of being very lonely and just trying to figure things out. And then they come in, they're like this bright light of attention. It's like, oh my God. But that then can kind of set you on this new path, which I think we've already kind of beaten that dead horse, but it's very dangerous.
Well, I think, it's natural to be attracted to certain qualities that these bad boy guys have. So, if you've fallen for it in the past or are falling for it right now or feel vulnerable to falling for this, it's natural. But it's important to recognize what's going on so that you can kind of catch it. And so I think there's two big things that we mix up. One, danger and attraction, where it's like we're around these bad boy types of guys, and we feel uncertain, we feel unsettled, it's ambiguous, and we mistake that for attraction, right? I think the other thing that people mix up is being attracted to the bad boy and thinking it's all about masculinity. Because I've heard clients say this almost verbatim, which is like, but he's like a man's man. Like I want like a guy's guy. And so, a little bit of bad boy always comes with that. To which I would say, no, I'm going to politely disagree. Like those are not the same thing. Like a masculine guy is strong. He conveys leadership. Masculine, true men are stable. They're leaders. They serve others. They're there to be there for other people. Bad boys are the opposite of that. They're arrogant. They're inconsistent. They put themselves first. They're not about being there for anybody other than themselves. That's not what a real guy is like. That's, that's what little boys are like. It's like what immaturity looks like in a guy. And that's not really what you're looking for.
Well, I hope you'll forgive me, Gary, and I hope all the audience will forgive me, but I'll tell you what I used to do in my early 20s to be able to build a little bit of adrenaline before a date. And this is so ridiculous. It hit me when you were talking about the danger piece. And I know it wasn't directly aligned with what you're saying, but I used to, on a first date, I would say, hey, I'm going to come pick you up on my motorcycle. And then most women have never been on a motorcycle before. And so I would show up on my Harley Davidson, and it would be like such an incredible moment of like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And then I would drive them. But of course, I'm not going to go to a bar or anything or a restaurant with a motorcycle. So I do have to drop it off at my place. So of course, I pick her up, drop off the motorcycle. I could show her my place, build a little bit of comfort, and then go on a meetup. And again, everyone, remember, this was like 17 years ago. So give me a break. All right. But it was, in some ways, looking back on it, it was sneaky because I wasn't in a phase of my life where I was really looking for anything serious. I was never dishonest. Like that was something that was very important. I was always very straightforward. But I know that moment was kind of alluring because it was just like, I've never been on a motorcycle. Who is this guy? And sometimes by the mere fact of me saying, hey, I just need to be straight with you, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. I'm just like, I'm in a stage where I'm looking for something casual. I would say that. And for whatever reason, that would actually draw women in more. And I wasn't doing it in order to get that response. I was truly doing it to be honest. Mm-hmm. But it kind of triggered that moment of being like, I think I can win him over. I can win him over. And it's like, you can't. You can't. I got the motorcycle thing. You're not winning me over.
I think it's partly they want to win you over. They want to be the one to kind of crack the code. They're like, oh, he says he's not like this. I can fix that, right? So there's a little bit of fixer kind of mentality in there. I also think people who are more avoidantly attached are going to go for the bad boy more. Right. Because if you're avoidantly attached, right, you're not very comfortable with closeness. You kind of put up walls. You're worried about being vulnerable and letting people in. Well, the bad boy has no interest in getting in. He has no interest in getting close. He has no interest in something serious and long-term and real and meaningful. And so by pursuing this guy who is saying things like, I'm not looking for anything. Like, I'm looking for something casual. And like, you got a motorcycle, like motorcycles say a lot of things, but it doesn't say emotionally warm.
It does now, man. Come on, I still got a Harley. Come on. I've been with my wife for 10 years. Like,
it doesn't say that. A Toyota Prius says emotionally warm. Harley Davidson.
Boring. Boring.
But I think the other piece with the bad boy thing and the avoidant attached is when, and the high likelihood is when it doesn't work out with the bad boy, you get to blame him. It's not your fault. It's like, man, I was looking for love. I really wanted a relationship, and it just didn't work out because I found this guy was this way again. And it's very self-protective in a way that maybe we don't always realize.
Yeah, it helps. It gives you a fictitious story to avoid looking at the harsh truth, which is you make every decision in your love life. You decide who you let in your life and who you do not. And ultimately, every decision is on you. And that's a harsh truth for people. It's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm telling you, once you swallow that big old pill, it sets you free because it's empowering. Because now you can make the right decisions in your life. If every guy is the problem, good luck. Good luck. You can go around all night at the end of the day and just say all men are the problem. That's why I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life and be that weird cat lady. Go for it. I mean, you're going to end up being the weird cat lady. Or you can take the pill and look at the truth, and that's the reality. So let's start talking about solutions. Now that we've scared the living bejesus out of all of you about bad boys, how do we actually move forward with clarity, confidence, Gary?
So here's what I love about these 3 solutions, fire solutions, because it's not just about the bad boy. These are 3 good insights that work for anyone at any time. Number 1, how to break your bad boy habit, but also just how to navigate attraction in dating is clarity is a clue. So if you're not able to describe why you're drawn to somebody, that's a red flag, right? You should know what makes somebody attractive to you. Like, it should be something about the traits that they have, how they make you feel, the dynamic between you, how much they align with your love vision for what you're really looking for in a partner. It shouldn't be mysterious. It should be obvious if you're doing this how we suggest to do dating, which is being intentional, being decisive, being strategic. When you can't explain it, it's a bad sign. It shows that you're grasping. It shows that you're filling in the blanks. You're lying to yourself. The one other way that this works too with clarity being a clue is every once in a while you hear somebody say like, yeah, he seems kind of a jerk, but he's different when we're alone. That's another red flag. Right? Like that's usually a lie that you're telling yourself, that he's different when we're alone because no one else can verify the truth, which is you're lying about this too. And you're not like lying, like you're just being dishonest with yourself. Like he's really not actually that different. And so be clear about how he's acting, be clear about how he's treating you. And if you're really not sure why you're drawn to this guy, not a great sign.
Yeah, I mean, if you're constantly having to say he's different when we're alone, that's likely because everyone's telling you that he's a raging jerk. And I have kind of a rule in my life. If I can just get one piece of advice from one person, except for a few core people like my wife and like my brother, but if it's like, you know, a buddy gives me a piece of advice, I don't really listen to it. If he's like, hey, you've been showing up this way, like I'll listen a little bit, but not really. Depends on who it is. But if it's a consistent pattern, if 3 or 4 people are telling me the same thing, oh my God, do I listen, right? And so if you're getting that feedback from other people about this guy, you do not have a hidden secret about this guy. In fact, you're the one with the blinders, very likely. Very, very likely. Yeah, he could be a good guy behind closed doors sometimes, but like you said, it's likely selective memory. So this is why we have developed this process we call the 7 little love steps, where we walk our clients down this path of creating what we call a love vision, which Gary mentioned. It's what we call little love step number 2. It's where we get crystal clear about the man, the relationship that you want. So you have a bullseye. You have something to really shoot for. And the thing about this exercise, it's not just like writing down a big old list of every single thing you'd ever want in a guy. It's a very different exercise, in fact. And what it does is it creates total focus and clarity, so that when you are going out and you're exploring these guys, we want to feel the feels, we want to feel the emotion, but we also want to bring some strategy along with us and check in with our love vision on a consistent basis. This is how we avoid going down this path where we're just like, yeah, it just feels so right. It just feels so good. It's like, that stuff's not in our love vision, right, Gary? We will tear someone apart. If they're like, I just want to feel good when I'm around him. It's like, no way. Stop. Not good. Redo it. You missed the whole exercise.
I always say, a good cup of coffee at Starbucks makes me feel good. That's how I know it's not a love vision thing. Just can't. It can't be.
Yeah, totally.
So I think, the other thing here, and this is a great one for bad boy. This is also a great one for general dating, is find a partner who you admire. And so ask yourself when you're dating somebody, do I want to be like this man? Not do I find these traits attractive, right? So you can find bad boy traits attractive, but I would bet you do not want to be those things. Now, it's very important to ask yourself, do you want to be like this man? Because if you end up in a long-term relationship, guess what? You're going to be like your partner. And so ask yourself, do I want to be like this person I'm dating?
Yeah. I mean, Jim Rohn has this famous quote, which is, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I love that quote. I think it's really been a guiding star in my life, because especially as I've gotten older, I've become pretty ruthless about who I let in. But we've kind of taken that quote to the next level. And we always say here at Love Strategies, you are the average of the person you marry. Mm-hmm. Because let me tell you, that person, their good habits, their bad habits, the way they think, the way they see the world, their politics, the way they eat, if they smoke, all of it will start to rub off on you. Slowly but surely. It happens. And so asking yourself, do I want to be like this person, is so incredibly important. And look, everyone's going to have some negative traits, and you certainly do as well. And that's the beauty of relationships is, you kind of balance each other out a little bit. But do I really want to be like this person? It really does kind of create a lot of clarity for you. And which really leads us, I think, to the final solution, which is focus on choosing a future, not just a feeling. There's a big difference between fun right now versus, would this man be a great father, a great husband, a great partner? Really thinking through, like, I think with dating, when we're single, it's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking about next week or the next date or the next month or the next 3 months. But very rarely are we thinking about, what is this going to be like in the next 5 years, 10 years, 30 years? It's hard to zoom out. It is. It's crazy. And I think that that's a lot of the value that, our coaching staff gives to our clients is like, let's zoom out on this guy. It might feel good right now, but what's the future going to be like with him?
Yeah, and it's something we share with our clients all the time, is just this mindset of make sure you're not optimizing for guys who are good daters. We want to be optimizing for guys who are good relationship partners. And those are not overlapping circles in a Venn diagram. It's like some guys are really good daters, and it's like it's the trap of dating where we get sucked in by that, and it's like, well, this is fun, this is fun, this is fun. I love it, this is a great feeling. But it's like, that's not a future necessarily. And so make sure you're looking for those solid guys, those guys that feel safe, serene, stable, peaceful. They have emotional maturity. As one of our clients has been fond of saying lately, stability is sexy. And it's like, yeah, it really is. We don't have to worry about things all the time. And it's like, who are they going to be? What kind of mood are they going to be in? Are they going to show up for this date that we planned or not? It's like, no, it's actually like really nice to not have to worry about a lot of that stuff. And so that's what it means to choose a future and not a feeling.
So I urge all of you coming out of this to use one word that almost no one talks about when it comes to dating, and that is discipline. Use some discipline. Discipline means I'm going to forego short-term pleasure in order to achieve a long-term goal and long-term fulfillment. And the way that teenagers live their life is they don't have much discipline typically. They'll just like, ooh, that's a nice thing. That's a nice shiny object. Ooh, I like him. I'm going to go with that. Okay, great. I'm going to just, I want to, try this. And then, but as we mature and we get older, ideally we really want to start focusing on, just because it feels good in the short term doesn't mean it's good for us in the long term. So please take this advice, get out there. attract the right type of person, because if you made it this far in this podcast, it means that you really are ready for a long-term relationship and not a bad boy. So thank you, Gary. This was a fun one.
Thanks, Adam.